supported Whitehaven. Saints being led out today by the matchday mascot, Neil Taylor. Neil is age 9, he attends Fatterway Junior School, and his favourite players are Roy Haggerty and Brett Clark. A big day for young Neil today, out there with his favourite team. But he is just limbering up, doing his movements with the team. And here's Alec Murphy, receiving the plaudits of the popular side as he comes over here to the dugout. No doubt Alex will have a man song today for today's clash. Well, I'll just run through the team changes for you now. Number 1 for Saints, Beavers. Number 2, Ledger. 3, Loughlin. 4, Elia. 5, McCormick. 6, Clark. 7, Holding. 8, Burke. 9, Liptrot. 10, Fieldhouse. 11, Platt. 12, Haggerty. 13, Arkwright. Substitutes for today, Farber at 14. 15 today, Pat Jarvis. Pat Jarvis making his 18th appearance for Saints. It's his last game for Saints. He's going home tomorrow, and he scored 2 tries so far this season. Now there's young Neil out there, Neil Taylor, today's match day mascot. Just wandering around, getting in the feel of things. Young Neil is a cousin of David Robert Shaw, who was last Sunday's matchday mascot. There's Neil. Roy Haggerty having a word with him. Roy Haggerty, one of Neil's favourite players. And here come the Whitehaven side. Walking out, they must be saving their energy. They'll certainly need it today, if Saints have anything to do with it. Being led out by Alan McCurry, a veteran campaigner. I'll just go through the Whitehaven team now with you. Number 1, Lightfoot. Number 2, Lofthouse. Number 3, Fisher. Number 4, Ackerman. He's reputed to going to be taking Saints apart. Well, only time will tell. Number 5, Solari. 6, Cameron. 7, Shuttleworth. 8, Rouse. 9, McCurry. 10, Howes. 11, Burney. 12, Hetherington. 13, McFarlane. 14, Beckwith. And 15, Simpson. Tremendous crowd here for this cup tie. A reputed 24 coaches coming down from Whitehaven, and there's been a hell of a lot of cars coming down there as well. Today's match day referee, Mr. Berry. Neil Taylor, today's match day mascot, coming over with Saints captain Chris Arkwright. Over shaking hands there with Mr. Berry, meeting the touch judges and the Whitehaven mascot. Also shaking hands there with Alan McCurry, Whitehaven captain for today. Neil now tossing the coin. Yes, there's Neil now, heading over there to the touchline. Knows his dad, meeting him at the touchline. He'll go and take his position in the stand now, and let's hope he enjoys the game. Well, Saints have won the toss, so young Neil tossed the coin there. Saints won the toss, so it's Whitehaven to kick off. Tremendous crowd here. What a pulsating match we've got in progress today. There we go, Whitehaven kick deep. Taken by Paul Loughlin, driving forward, brought down midway in his own 25. It's important Saints break this Whitehaven defence early, so Saints bringing it to the left, Tony Burke. But obviously Whitehaven early tackling, they're going to go in there the first 20 minutes, see if they can knock Saints off the game. They'll hold in. Chris Arkwright, brilliant pass onto Loughlin. Barry Ledger in support, Barry Ledger gets the ball. Brought down midway between the halfway and 25. So the first attack there from Saints, and Saints bring it left. Neil holding, short ball onto Roy Haggerty. Ball goes loose, Whitehaven scoop it up, but he takes it back up the Whitehaven man. Brilliant work there by Neil Holding. The tackle goes back to 1. Saints on the attack, brilliant intro, brilliant left. Chris Arkwright strides through him, looking to feed on, but just can't release that ball. Taken down there by Lofthouse, this very easily recognisable winger for Whitehaven. John Fieldhouse in possession. Andy Platt on his outside, but he just couldn't release that ball. Brett Clark taking the acting halfback. Line side, Graham Littrot, Neil Olin, Roy Haggerty up this left-hand touchline. Just brought down inside the Whitehaven half. Mark Elia from acting halfback. He elects to go on his own. Makes a valuable 10-15 yards. Last tackle now of this set of 6. Kevin McCormick on to Graham Littrot. Back to Roy Haggerty. Short ball to Tony Burke. Inside to John Fieldhouse. If he can just get it out. Did well though, John Fieldhouse. Overlap here for Saints. Chris Arkwright. Paul Lockley into port. Draws his man. Lockley comes inside. Up to Clark. All this on the last tackle. Andy Platt releases the ball, but the Whitehaven man scoops it up. Put the peg down in their own 25. Whitehaven still in possession. Brought down by some good tackling from Andy Platt and Tony Burke. Loose forward, gets the ball to McFarlane for Whitehaven and takes it left, but the touch judge is on here for an incident that he's seen, we haven't seen, and a penalty to Whitehaven for allegedly kicking in the tackle. I just hope he's as noticeable throughout the whole proceedings. But the first penalty of the game to Whitehaven, taken by number 6 Cameron. He kicks for touch and finds touch just inside Saints half. The Whitehaven drive forward, taking it right now. Hetherington trying to burst through. Good solid tap in there from Tony Burke with John Fieldhouse in support. And Halifax spreading it right. McCurry again. Short ball there onto number 11 Burney. But Whitehaven looking for a quick play of the ball. Cameron onto number 8 Rose. Back inside to Cameron. Saints well up there and bundle them down. Over here to Shuttleworth wing. Whitehaven man Grubbers for touch. The ball goes into touch midway between the halfway and 25 in Saints half. So first scrum of the match now. Neil Holding to feed. Old campaigner Alan McCurry, but he's got a up against the good and with Graham Littrot. But Saints being penalised there for handing back out of the scrum. So another penalty to Whitehaven. Whitehaven from this penalty. Cameron taking the kick to touch. Finds touch right on the 25. Shuttleworth now to play the ball. Dummies, but feeds on to number 10 Howes. Driving forward. Tony Burke and John Fieldhouse bundle him down. Shuttleworth again, take the acting half-back position. Takes it left. Onto 13 McFarlane. Whitehaven going crossfield to the left. Chris Arkwright and Andy Platt effect the tackle. So Whitehaven again. Shuttleworth, McCurry, dummy movement inside to number 12. What he tries to feed on, that was Hetherington. Tried to feed on, the pass was forward. The ball eventually kicked dead by the Saints player. Whitehaven looking a bit sprightly there. So it's a drop out from in between their own sticks. Neil Holding to take this kick when he finally gets the ball. The first bit of Whitehaven pressure. So Neil Holding drop kicks out. Good kick, good 50 yards on the halfway line. Taken by fullback Lightfoot, but bundled down just short of Saints' own 25. Alan McCurry now acting halfback, takes it left, feeds it onto Rose, looks to turn inside, loose ball. Must be a knock-on, I think. McCurry drops on it, yes. Referee ruling a knock-on, so we're scrumming down just inside Saints' 25. We played Whitehaven this season in the Players' Cup at Whitehaven and came away with a 10 points to 8 win. Very hard game, always a hard team to beat on their own patch, Whitehaven. But it's Neil Holding to feed this scrum. Then it goes, comes out with a fade, round the back, Neil Holding. Bill Beaver's in the attack, feeds on to Paul Locklin, up with Barry Ledger. Brought down just short of the halfway line. Saints bring it left, Bill Beaver's up there again. Chris Arkwright. Dummies inside, takes the tackle, McCurry in there and Cameron bundle him down. So I beg your pardon, Rose, number 8 it was. Neil Holding, Quicksilver from the back of the scrum, onto Roy Haggerty, steps out of one tackle, turns inside, turns back outside, feeds onto Paul Locklin. Well, Locklin with 2 hanging onto him, gains valuable yardage, brought down midway between the halfway and 25 in Castleford half. Graham Liptrot on the blind side, beats on to Barry Ledger, taking it up that right hand wing, gains a further valuable 10 yards. So Graham Liptrot again, and Saints bringing it left. Neil Olding, Brett Clark, John Fieldhouse, loop movement with Brett Clark, up to Andy Platt. Lovely lofted pass onto Mark Elia. Terrific off Elia, inside, going crossfield, onto John Fieldhouse. Spread this ball and we're in here. Onto Olding, Roy Haggerty, must be a try here. Roy Haggerty still going. Ooh, brought down just short of the line. Brilliant work there from Saints. Over there in that Saints right hand wing. Well, it's a scrum down now. Whether that was the sixth tackle or whether there was an infringement there, just hard for us to see at present. But we're scrumming down now. 5 yards, possibly 10 yards from Whitehaven try line. Shuttleworth to feed for Whitehaven. The referee penalises Saints again. I just can't interpret his thing. Looks though somebody's talking in that scrum, but Whitehaven gain another penalty. That's the third penalty so far. So a quick kick for touch, quick tap play, and Whitehaven just held down midway between the 25 and the halfway in Saints half. Onto McCurry, Whitehaven bringing it right. Taking down the Roy Haggerty and Chris Arkwright. So it's Whitehaven again, still in possession, bringing it right to McCurry. Misses McCurry out onto Shuttleworth, I think, tries to chip through, but the ball goes directly into touch. So it's a scrum down now, 10 yards inside Whitehaven half. 8 minutes gone of this game so far, no score. Neil Olding to feed this scrum. Ball coming out with the feed, onto Brett Clark, comes inside, still going Brett Clark, chinking his way through, even sidestepping the referee, but just lost his foot in there. Brilliant work there from Saints. Tony Burke, onto Graham Liptrot, crossfield to Neil Olding, lofted pass to Paul Loughlin, Barry Ledger on his outside, Loughlin going round, feeds onto Barry Ledger, just couldn't get that ball, tried hard it back in there, the ball goes loose and Whitehaven drop on it. Whitehaven still pegged down in their own 25. McCurry again taking it right onto this prop. Howes driving forward, looking to make inroads out of their own 25. McCurry feeds on to number 11, Burney there. And Whitehaven not making much progress. They're just brought down on the 25. Tony Burke looking very lively today, and Roy Haggerty. And it's the last tackle of this set of 6 for Whitehaven. The ball coming back here to number 7, Shuttleworth. He boots it upfield. Barry Ledger, well positioned there. Takes the ball, comes away. Phil Beavers in support, but the Whitehaven tacklers up there, bundle him down. Held down 10 yards in his own 25. Phil Beavers acting half back. All the Whitehaven team offside here. Referee Barry not looking, but Saints still in possession. Paul Loughlin steps out to one tackle, but just brought down short of the 25 line. Phil Beavers up, taking the acting half-back position onto Tony Burke, steaming forward, coming from deep. Tony Burke releases the ball. Quick saves here. So Brett Clark, unfortunately, just couldn't hold that ball. Quick hands essential there. That's what it was. Quick hands coming out with the ball, but just couldn't hold that ball. So we're scrumming down just inside Saints 25. With Shuttleworth to feed this scrum. Well, penalises again Derby, hardly before we packed for put up. So Whitehaven coming away, Burney, number 11 for them. Whitehaven on the attack. 10 yards from Saints line. Number 12, Hetherington there, looking to get through. Tries to play it through on his own, plays forward, kicks through, but the ball bouncing off a Saints player. Saints in possession, pegged down, right on their own line, and hallelujah, he's penalised them for offside. So the first penalty of the match for St Helens, that is. Whitehaven already receiving 4 penalties, that's in the first 10 minutes. So Paul Loughlin kicks for touch, finds touch, just outside his own 25. Graham Liptrot, quick play the ball onto John Fieldhouse. Saints forwards looking full of running so far. Graham Liptrot again, crossfield onto Tony Burke. Driving through them. Neil Holding coming up, but they just bundle him down before he can release that ball. Neil Holding again, takes it right, onto Graham Liptrot, onto Roy Haggerty, lurking up the brilliant pass from Roy Haggerty, onto Barry Ledger, but the touch judge's flag is up. Obviously Ledger alleged to have put a foot into touch. Right on the halfway line there. So we're scrumming down. Almost on the halfway line. Whitehaven feed, Shuttleworth to feed. Referee Berry having a dig in there. But the ball goes in. Well, that never went in. Yes. Penalty there to Saints. Shuttleworth not retiring. The ball not going in, but he didn't retire. And a penalty kick to Saints. Paul Loughlin lining up. Just short of Whitehaven 25. Saints to play the ball. On to Tony Burke. Getting a bit of steam up, trying to run from deep. Neil Holding taking the acting half-back position. Being impeded a little, but feeds on to John Fieldhouse. Strides through, gains a valuable 10 yards. Fieldhouse. The Saints on the attack, 20 yards from Whitehaven line. Neil Holding, Luke movement with Graham Liptrot inside to Roy Haggerty. And Saints still on the attack. Jeff Berry urging Whitehaven to get onside, but the ball with Saints. Chris Arkwright. Got a good tackle there from Shuttleworth, bringing him down. But Saints over here on this left wing. Neil Holding inside to Mark Elia. The ball going loose off Elia's knees. Whitehaven in possession, but they're pegged down in their own 25. So no danger at present. And Whitehaven bringing it to the right. Well held there, Graham Liptrot in there with Mark Elia, bundle him down. Onto McCurry, still in Whitehaven's possession. Good tackle there. Number 10, Howes, being taken down by John Fieldhouse and Andy Platt. And then returning into the line out. Obviously a testing time this first quarter of an hour. But Whitehaven still in possession, ball coming back to Shuttleworth, kicks downfield. Phil Beavers well positioned. Barry Ledger in support with him, coming infield. Phil Beavers taking it up to the halfway line. Finally brought down just inside Whitehaven half. Barry Ledger acting half-back and Saints bringing it left. Neil Holding jinking through. Feeds out to Brett Clark. Jinking his way through. He's in space. Brett Clark. Ledger on his inside. Brought down on Whitehaven 25. The tackle's being wiped off. So 6 tackles for Saints to make it count. 25 yards from Whitehaven try line. John Fieldhouse inside to Chris Arkwright. Chip kick over. Brilliant Arkwright. Yes! He goes over there. Right under the sticks. Brilliant work from Chris Arkwright. So the count. 25 yards from Whitehaven try line. John Fieldhouse inside to Chris Arkwright. Chip kick over. Brilliant Arkwright. Yes! He goes over there. Right under the sticks. Brilliant work from Chris Arkwright. Saw the gap. The tackles have been wiped off. But Chris Arkwright kicked through. Chips over the Whitehaven heads. His pace took him through. And he touches down right under the sticks. 14 minutes gone there. And Saints going to a 4-0 lead. Well, 4 minutes gone. Arkwright chipping through there. Gets his 15th try of the season. Brilliant work from Saints there. They look very hungry as they get up to this Whitehaven line. Paul Loughlin lining up. Yes, easy for Paul Loughlin. Slots it over. So Saints 6-0 in the lead. Paul Loughlin there slotting his 133rd goal of the season over, and quarter of an hour gone, and Saints 6-0 in the lead. Cameron to kick off, kicks it deep. A judge to have knocked on Chris Arkwright there by referee Berry. So scrum down 10 yards from Saints line. Shuttleworth to feed. The ball comes out Whitehaven side. Shuttleworth falls on it. Chris Arkwright quickly round there before he gets up, and Whitehaven taking it right. Hetherington looking for a way through. Unceremoniously dumped down there by Andy Platt and Tony Burke, and Whitehaven spreading it right. Saints tackling tremendous today. This is the name of the game. Body contact sport, and getting bundled down. So Whitehaven still in possession, bringing it right onto number 3 Fisher, coming over here to Saints left wing, but to number 7 Shuttleworth trying to go on his own, brought down 5 yards short of the line. It's the last tackle now. McFarlane for Whitehaven, taking it back to McCurry. McCurry with a crossfield up and under type thing, but well taken by Paul Loughlin. So Saints weather the storm. Roy Haggerty with the ball now. He just can't get this man Haggerty down. Finally bundled to ground, plays the ball to Graham Liptrot, on to Tony Burke, coming from deep, shrugs one tackle off Burke, just can't release that ball. John Fieldhouse coming up there. Oh, it's Graham Liptrot again, and Saints bringing it to the left. John Fieldhouse again, inside pass, lovely pass to Andy Platt, and Saints making yardage all the time. Brought down under 25. Neil Holding now, acting half-back, taking it left to Chris Arkwright, on to Mark Elia. Just breaks out to one tackle, but releases the ball to Chris Arkwright. He'll take him on. Arkwright still going. Brilliant play from this Saints skipper. Leads by example. Gains valuable yardage there. It's the last tackle of this set of 6. Brett Clark over to Neil Holding. Grubbers through. Ball touching the Whitehaven man. Ball Kevin McCormick gathers, but unfortunately the ball shoots out of his grip and goes straight into touch. So it's going to be a scrum down right on the halfway line there. Good thinking from Neil Holding. Tried to grubber through. Touched the Whitehaven man. The ball shot up, but Kevin McCormick just couldn't keep hold of that ball. So we're having a scrum, and Shuttleworth, scrum half for Whitehaven to feed, comes with the feed, takes it back. Lofthouse coming up from deep, easily recognisable. This fella had a good game against us at Recreation Ground in the John Player, but Whitehaven taking it left, still pegged down in their own half. Loose ball there, Saints get on that loose ball, good tackling from Mark Elia and Andy Platt, and Saints come up with the ball and spread it left. Chris Arkwright, John Fieldhouse, inside to Brett Clark. This Western Suburbs player, brilliant player, this Brett Clark. Only another month with Saints, unfortunately. Goes home at the end of March, but Saints taking it right. Onto Roy Haggerty, shrugs one off, fields to Neil Holding, inside to Andy Platt. Brilliant Saints there, looking for each other. Support essential today. On to Graham Liptrot, quick hands, beats one, goes to Neil Holding, releases to Tony Burke, turns round, drives forward. Brilliant work from Tony Burke, spreads it out to Mark Elia, but a rather high ball, just coming off his fingertips and going to ground. So it's scrum down now, just inside Whitehaven 25. Nearly 20 minutes of this game gone so far, and Saints in a 6-0 lead. Shuttleworth for Whitehaven to feed, the ball coming out against the head, but referee very not happy with it. Shuttleworth again, try again, ball coming out, Saints side, but penalty to Saints for put up from Whitehaven, onto Neil Holding, onto Mark Elia, Paul Loughlin, back onto Elia, lofted pass, going to ground. Barry Ledger just couldn't get on that the end of that ball, but Whitehaven being penalised there for offside at that loose ball, so it's a penalty kick to Saints. Saints quickly play the ball and drive forward 10 yards from Whitehaven try line. Neil Holding bringing it left, Graham Liptrot, Chris Arkwright shimmies and goes through, straightens up, tries to go through on his own. The Whitehaven defence up there, McCurry and Howes bundle him down. The Saints still in possession. Graham Liptrot acting half back, bringing it left onto Brett Clark, reverse movement with John Fieldhouse. Brett Clark again onto Mark Elia, takes him on Elia, tremendous pace, inside to McCormick, back to Brett Clark, going for that corner, trying to drive through, kicks the ball, loose ball, Beavers still in possession, can he just get over there? Oh, brought down inches short, but with 6 back tackles, we're back to 1 now. Beavers, Brett Clark acting half-back, takes it right, John Fieldhouse, short ball onto Andy Platt, heading for the line there. Plenty of space here for Saints to make it count. Graham Liptrot taking it right, Neil Holding. Lofted pass to Arkwright, try a begging, inside to Paul Lachlan. And he comes as far behind the sticks as he can. Brilliant play there from Saints. Taking it right, Neil Holding. Lofted pass to Arkwright, try a begging, inside to Paul Lachlan. And he comes as far behind the sticks as he can. Brilliant play there from Saints. Split the Whitehaven defence open. 21 minutes of this game gone, and brilliant work there over in this left-hand corner, resulting in the ball going over there. Arkwright creating the final space, slips it out to Paul Lachlan, and he goes over there midway between the touch and the posts. Paul Lachlan going over there for his 8th try of the season, and shouldn't have much problem with this conversion. A bit of a swirling wind here today at Nosey Road. Possibly favouring Whitehaven a little, I don't know. But it is rather swirling. Paul Lachlan lining up. Already kicked one today. Lofts it very high and right between the sticks. So 12 points to nil. 12 points to nil. Saints in the lead. Third round of the cup, and Whitehaven not to be underestimated, but Saints in a comfortable 12 points to nil lead after only the first quarter. Whitehaven kick off, kick it deep, taken by the last try scorer, Paul Lachlan. So Saints in their own 25, Graham Liptrot, and Saints bringing it left to John Fieldhouse. As I said before, Saints forwards looking hungry. Brilliant ball there from Tony Burke, on to Ryan Haggerty, steps through 2 tackles, feeds onto Fieldhouse, over there to Neil Holding. Feeds onto Phil Beavers, well held there, Phil Beavers, taking it right. Trying to get it onto Barry Ledger, but Whitehaven tattlers bundle him down. So it's Barry Ledger taking the acting half-back position and bringing it left onto John Fieldhouse again. Going from strength to strength, slips it inside to Barry Ledger, fends one off, but finally brought down by Howes. Just short of the 25. Last tackle now, Andy Platt steaming up, breaking through the tackle, Mark Elia inside, feeds it inside to Elia, takes it cleanly, but just brought down over the 25. But referee Berry ruling a forward pass there from Andy Platt to Mark Elia. Well, in a way he's done us a favour there, because it would have been the changeover. At least I suppose with a 50-50 chance of hooking this ball at the scrum. So Shuttleworth for Whitehaven to feed this scrum, and penalised for feeding. Well, yes, he's certainly done us a favour there. So penalty, differential penalty to Saints. Alan McCurry protesting a little bit there, but he'll get no joy off this referee. Paul Lachlan now midfield, going to kick for touch to gain valuable yardage. Saints putting the pressure on Whitehaven, putting the screws in now. Finds touch about 15 yards from Whitehaven try line, so with 6 tackles to make it count. Neil Holding taking the ball quickly, feeds on to Tony Burke, driving forward. 3 Whitehaven tacklers bundling to bundle him down, and Graham Liptrot blindside onto John Fieldhouse. Kevin McCormick gathers the ball, possibly his first real touch of the ball. Neil Holding acting half-back, Andy Platt steaming through, can't take that ball, so Whitehaven drop on the loose ball 10 yards from their own line and try to come away with it. Alan McCurry now acting half-back, Whitehaven taking it left onto McFarlane. Chris Arkwright bundles him down, and Whitehaven again, Shuttleworth takes it on to Hetherington. Mark Elia and Tony Burke bundle him down, still pegged down in their own 25, and Whitehaven taking it left onto McFarlane again, but there's no way through for him, so Whitehaven scoop it up, draw, go another 15-20 yards, still pegged down in their own half, and it's the first changeover of the match there, and Brett Clark onto Graham Liptrot there, Neil Holding feeds back onto John Fieldhouse, coming over here, feeds inside to Mark Elia, on to Graham Liptrot, out to John Fieldhouse again, John Fieldhouse inside to Mark Elia, but the ball intercepted by number 10, Howes for Whitehaven. Alan McCurry acting half-back, Whitehaven taking it left, on to Hetherington, taken down by Andy Platt. Good tackle this Andy Platt. Alan McCurry bringing it right, on to McFarlane. Whitehaven approaching Saints 25 now. McCurry again, electing to go on his own, bringing it right to Shuttleworth, on to number 11, Burney. Shuttleworth again, taking it left, McCurry. Saints penalised for offside though, about 20 yards from their own line. I would imagine they'll possibly have a go for goal here, see if they can get a couple of points on the board. Yes, Cameron, number 6, standoff for Whitehaven. Elects to go for the penalty goal. That just gives me a couple of minutes now. Last time when we played Whitehaven was this season, as I say, in the John Players, when we won 10 points to 8 with 2 tries from Vivers and Jarvis and a Barry Ledger goal, but the last time in the league was in the 83-84 season. Always a difficult side on their own patch, but it's a different kettle of fish down here at Northern Road. Cameron goes for the penalty kick, but takes it wide of the posts, so Whitehaven still not on the team sheet. Neil Holding now to drop out, 25 drop out after that unsuccessful Cameron conversion. A good 50-yard kick from Neil Holding, taken by Lightfoot, full back for Whitehaven. Brings it down to the halfway line, well taken down by Chris Arkwright and John Fieldhouse. McCurry acting half-back, taking it right, on to Rose, no way through for him. John Fieldhouse in there again, doing a tremendous tackling stint today. Whitehaven bringing it right, loose ball, Mark here, on to Kevin McCormick, can he come in field, on to Brett Clark. Shuds him off there, Whitehaven defence very quickly back there after Mark Elia scooping that loose ball up. Saints taking it right, Tony Burke through there, tackled by McCurry and Hetherington. Graham Liptrot acting half-back, bringing it left onto Chris Arkwright, Neil Holding, Roy Haggerty lurking up here again, he'll take him on, Haggerty steps inside, feeds onto Andy Platt. Andy Platt still going, brought down just short of the 25 in Whitehaven half. Phil Beavers acting half-back, Saints taking it right, Chris Arkwright onto John Fieldhouse again, lofted ball to Loughlin, passes on to Barry Ledger, but the ball going directly into touch. Scrumming down there just outside Whitehaven 25. Brett Clark down here on the touchline, just receiving a little attention. But we're scrumming down there 10 yards outside of Whitehaven 25. Shuttleworth feeding the scrum, the ball nearly coming out Saints half, but not being allowed to. And we're starting all over again. Shuttleworth again, scrum half for Whitehaven to feed this scrum. Well, the referee parting the scrums, looks as though he's going to get the hookers out. Yes, McCurry and Liptrot. But having a word with them, just see if we can get a proper scrum. Shuttleworth again, finally feeds the scrum, comes out Whitehaven side. Loose ball, but Shuttleworth drops on it. Chris Arkwright's just up there, make sure he doesn't go any farther. But Whitehaven coming away with it. Second tackle now. McCurry acting half-back, bringing it right. Over here to Ackerman, I think it is. Yes, number 4 Ackerman. not done much so far, considering he's going to turn us apart, but fed on to number 3, Fisher there. And Shuttleworth again, acting half-back. Grubbering, well, trying to grubber through, but it was a lofted kick. Well kept in field by Kevin McCormack. Dummies past Lofthouse, feeds onto Phil Beavers, but he's just brought down outside his own 25. Taking a knock there in the tackle, Phil Beavers. So Saints physio just on to attend to Phil. Well, in the last 30 years, we've only played Whitehaven once in the Rugby League Challenge Cup, and that was the first round in the 9th of February 1957 at Whitehaven, where we lost narrowly 9 points to 8. But we're on our own mid in here, and I'm sure Saints are not going to make any mistake this time. Also, congratulations to Paul Loughlin and Kevin McCormack being picked for the under-21 international in France later on this month. Saints, tremendous points machine this season. In the last 7 matches, Saints have amassed 241 points for and 88 points against. We know Cup Rugby is a completely different kettle of fish. It's a great leveller, but Saints in a comfortable 12 points to nil lead. And 31 minutes gone of this game so far. The ground here at Nosey Road holding up well after a torrential early morning rain. We're going out to just a bit of drizzle and finally drying up now. Well, Phil Beavers there, having the treatment, playing the ball to Graham Liptrot. Saints taking it right, onto Tony Burke, shrugs one off, feeds back to Liptrot. Saints taking it right, Neil Holding. The ball going to ground, Whitehaven in possession, just inside Saints 25. Whitehaven there receiving a penalty for Saints holding down in the tackle. So he's going to have another go for goal, this number 6 Cameron. A similar position to the last kick, maybe a little more infield towards the posts. A more direct kick. Halifax already through yesterday, beating OKR in the televised match. A rather easy win, 35 points to 7, but it must be said a pretty poor OKR side in my opinion. But here's Cameron lining up now. Attempting this penalty kick conversion, looks to the right again. No, it goes in between the sticks. So after 33 minutes, Whitehaven get the first points on the board with a Cameron penalty goal. So it's 12 points to 2 now in Saints' favour. Neil Holding to restart. Takes it over to this left wing, taken by Lofthouse, knocked on there. Yes, referee Glennie saw it. Obviously very difficult for him to hold that ball. Knocked on, so we're scrumming down 15 yards from Whitehaven try line. The ball going against the head. Whitehaven coming away with the ball. Head onto this bald winger. Lofthouse. Phil Beavers takes him round the legs. Arkwright and McCormack finish up round the top. Whitehaven onto McCurry, taking it left. Number 11, Burney. Feeds inside to Cameron. Reverse pass to number 3, Fisher. And Whitehaven going just to the left of the sticks for a try. Finish up round the top. Whitehaven onto McCurry, taking it left. Number 11, Burney. Feeds inside to Cameron. Reverse pass to number 3, Fisher. And Whitehaven going just to the left of the sticks for a try. Well, good work there from Whitehaven. We go over just to the left of the post. From the kick-off, Shuttleworth knocked on. A scrum down 10 yards from Whitehaven line. Whitehaven won the ball against the head and swept down this right-hand wing. Whitehaven right-hand wing, took it crossfield to the left, and Fisher went in to the left of the sticks. So it's 12 points to 6 at present. Whitehaven losing. Cameron to convert this Fisher try. Quite an easy kick, I would imagine. Once he hits the post with it, so it's 12 points to 6 for Saints now, after 35 minutes. A bit of a let-off there, I would imagine, for Saints, with him missing that easy goal. Anyway, Neil Oldham to resume again, so we're back here, second time in a couple of minutes. Must see Neil Oldham kicks it deep, taken by McFarlane, slipped but got up, drove forward and brought down just short of the 25. Taken down by Tony Burke with the Graham Liptrot. Shuttleworth again, taken down by Chris Arkwright. Good solid Saints tackling there, bundle him down, little grubber kick through, but Neil Oldham well up to it. Gathers the... Whoa, well, look at that! My word! Talk about taking his head off. It's a good job he didn't connect there. The man was down on the ground, Oldham was down on the ground with the ball. Shuttleworth came in and tried to take his head off. Well, referee Berry getting him out there, that should warrant a booking. Ridiculous that, the man on the ground, and he every intention of inflicting serious injury on this man. Well, just receiving a caution, but it's a penalty to Saints now. Midway between the halfway and 25 in Whitehaven half. Saints now to capitalise on this territorial advantage. Graham Liptrot, Tony Burke coming through from deep. Tony Burke's taking him on, 3 and 4 Whitehaven tacklers, bundle him down. Graham Liptrot taking it blindside onto John Fieldhouse, crossfield, looking to unload to Graham Liptrot, but the Whitehaven defence up there, bundle him down. But Saints still on the attack, taking it right, Chris Arkwright, Neil Oldham, Roy Haggerty coming from deep, tried to step through him, just can't. 10 yards now from Whitehaven line. Let's see Saints penetrate this line just before half time, taking it right, Brett Clark, loop movement with Oldham, inside to Andy Platt. And a penalty to Whitehaven. Well, I don't know what that's for. He was in possession there, but he's indicating like an arm being thrown. But so Whitehaven gain a penalty kick. Fine touch midway between the halfway and 25 in their own half. Shuttleworth to restart play, take this quick tap. Taking it right. Shuttleworth again, and Whitehaven spreading it right again onto Burney. Number 11, second row forward for Whitehaven. McCurry up, back to play the ball, bringing it right again. Ball goes loose, but McCurry quickly in there. Whitehaven taking it left onto number 10, Howes. Brought down just short of the halfway with Graham Liptrot and Chris Arkwright, the referee ruling the ball touching a Saints player, so Whitehaven are back to 1. Roy Haggerty, Graham Liptrot there, stop his gallop, and McFarlane takes the acting half-back position, takes it right from the play of the ball to McCurry. Whitehaven onto Ackerman, trying to get through there. Oh, I beg your pardon, it was Cameron, but Whitehaven still in possession. McFarlane taken down, Roy Haggerty and Andy Platt, bundle him down. McCurry again, Whitehaven taking it left, grubber kick through, Barry Ledger in chase, but the ball's going to run dead. So it's a 25-yard restart, quick tap, play the ball for Saints, quickly taken by Graham Liptrot, onto Chris Arkwright, onto Mark Haley down this left-hand wing, tries to outpace Lofthouse, but he's brought down right in front of us here. Neil Oldham taking it infield to Brett Clark, onto Tony Burke, shrugs one off, tries to spread the ball, but finally bundled down. Onto Roy Haggerty, driving upfield, takes him on Roy Haggerty, trying to release that ball, but 3 Whitehaven tacklers make sure he doesn't. John Fieldhouse, acting half-back, Saints bringing it left, Brett Clark onto Mark Elia, going infield. Very tight for space over here on this left-hand wing. Neil Holding inside to John Fieldhouse. Feeds on to Chris Arkwright. Splits the defence open. Chris Arkwright checking him on. Brilliant run there from St. Crossfield siding run. Last settle now with his set of 6. The ball coming left. Neil Holding, Grubbers for touch. Brilliant kick from Holding there. Will he run? Yes. About a yard short of Whitehaven line there. Brilliant kick from Neil Holding. Change of direction. Saw the gap and kicked through. Grubbered through. So it's a scrum down. All on full time in this first half now. 40 minutes gone and a scrum down. 10 yards short of Whitehaven line. The ball being, the scrum being brought back to 10 yards. Shuttleworth to feed. Ball coming out Saint side. Well, quickly there from Neil Holding. He's been over there in a flash. But Shuttleworth to feed again. We could do it one against the head. He never retired there. He never retired. And he's watching him. And he lets it go. Well, it's ridiculous that. Never even moved Shuttleworth. So Whitehaven in possession. Pegged down on their own line. With a deficit of 12 points to 6. And Whitehaven still in possession. There's the final hooter. Whitehaven being brought down just short of their own 25. And Saints go into a half-time lead. 12 points to 6. First half try from Chris Arkwright and Paul Loughlin with 2 Paul Loughlin goals. Back with you now at Rosie Road for the second half of this Silk Cup Challenge Cup third round. Saints versus Whitehaven. Saints going in with a lead at half-time, 12 points to 6. An early try from Chris Arkwright after the 4th minute on a Loughlin conversion, and then the 21st minute Loughlin try and goal. Whitehaven just come in strong in the last 7 minutes, 33 minutes, Cameron penalty goal and a 34 minutes Fisher try. Well, a big cheer here for the Saints, and why not? Neither team making any substitutions in the first half or at half-time. So what a tremendous second half we've got in prospect here. Whitehaven in 3rd position in the 2nd division. As I say, they are a 2nd division team, but in Cup Rugby this means nothing. They've 28 points from 19 matches, Whitehaven, having 388 for, 208 against, while Saints first position in the Stones Bitter Championship, played 19, won 16, 628 for, 244 against, and 32 points. Anyway, here we are to restart. Neil Holding to kick off, and away we go. Neil Holding kicks to his left-hand wing. Whitehaven's right. Whitehaven gather. Alan McCurry now, acting half-back, taking the ball left. Whitehaven driving through. McCurry again, as ever, acting half-back and bringing it left onto Shuttleworth. Short ball onto McFarlane. Saints tattlers well in there. Andy Platt and Roy Haggerty. Shuttleworth again. Feeds onto number 11, Burney. Trying to stretch his legs and drive forward. Tremendous support here for Whitehaven, but much more for Saints. The crowd have got to get behind this Saints team here. Whitehaven kick up field. Phil Reeves well positioned. Outpaces the defence, but it's finally brought down just short of the halfway. Graham Littrot acting half-back. Takes it inside. Barry Ledger coming inside. Just get a bit of a clear pace here. Clear space, and Barry Ledger's pace will tell. Graham Littrot bringing it right onto John Fieldhouse. Had a good first half this Fieldhouse. Onto Chris Arkwright, taking it, creating half gap, trying to feed onto Tony Burke, but taken down in the tackle. The Saints still in possession and bringing it right onto Neil Holding. Jinking about, feeds onto Brett Clark, going crossfield. Clark sees the gap onto Kevin McCormack. Mark Elia with him, turns round, feeds inside to Elia, showing his pace, feeds back inside to Brett Clark, storming for the line. Kevin McCormack comes inside again, brilliant Saints, brought down. Last tackle this set of 6, 20 yards from Whitehaven line. Neil Holding goes for the drop goal and is successful. Well, that's the way to do it. When you're down at that end, get some points on the board if you can. That could be crucial at the end of today's match. So just 2 minutes gone now of this second half, and Neil Holding pops over a drop goal. £13 points to 6 now. Saints in the lead. Cameron to kick off. Taken by Mark Elia. Straightens up, drives forward. Beats one, but can't get past McFarlane there. Finally gets up, plays the ball. Graham Liptrot's taking it right to Chris Arkwright. Straightens up, comes in field. Feeds on to Graham Liptrot. Created the gap there, Arkwright. Up to Roy Haggerty. Takes it inside. Lovely double. Up to Billy Ledger. Down this right hand wing. Oh, just taken down Ledger, but keeps in field. Ball down right on the 25, receiving a little bit of attention there, but Saints on the rampage, on the attack, taking it left, splitting his Whitehaven defence up, not to Neil Holding, straightens up, going for the line, oh, brilliant Holding, brilliant, oh, what a try, attention there, but Saints on the rampage, on the attack, taking it left, splitting his Whitehaven defence up, not to Neil Holding, straightens up, going for the line, oh, brilliant Holding, brilliant, check his head off down here, but brilliant Holding looked as though he was going to be stopped 2 and 3 times there, and goes over for Saints' first try of this second half. 3 minutes gone and Neil Holding goes over. Well, the signs are looking good. I would imagine Saints will take this Whitehaven side apart this second half. Brilliant work there from Saints. Down here, Barry Ledger going down this right hand touch, doing very well to avoid being pushed into touch. Brought down on his own 25 from the play of the ball. Saints took it across left, finally coming on to Neil Holding. He saw the gap, scooted through, looked as though he should have been dumped down 2 or 3 times, but tremendous in full flight and scored. But Paul Loughlin can't convert that try. It's a shame, it deserved a conversion. Such a brilliant try from Neil Holding. Neil Holding, Saints leading try scorer now, 18 tries this season. So 17 points to 6, Saints in the comfortable lead. Cameron to kick off, kicks it over here, Barry Ledger attempts to keep it in field. I don't know whether he got a touch, but the ball went to Paul Loughlin. Drives forward, just brought down, short of his own 25. Graham Liptrot acting half-back. Tony Burke coming from deep. Feeds on to Tony Burke. McCurry and Headington dump him down just over the 25. Graham Liptrot again. Brings it blindside. Andy Platt. Tremendous forward, this Platt. On to Haggerty. Over the try here for Saints. Must be. On to Barry Ledger. Oh, brilliant work from Saints. Down here. Easy for Ledger. Easy Saints. Ackerman comes over, but he can't stop Ledger. Well, it's been ruled a forward pass here. Well, I don't know. It brings it blindside. Andy Platt. Tremendous forward, this Platt. On to Haggerty. Over the try here for Saints. Must be. On to Barry Ledger. Oh, brilliant work from Saints. Down here. Easy for Ledger. Easy Saints. Ackerman comes over, but he can't stop Ledger. Well, it's been ruled a forward pass here. Well, I don't know how we can rule that. I was right on the job here, very well back in proceedings. And he rules a forward pass. Well, never a forward pass that. But perhaps referee Berry trying to keep the score down. And we have a scrumming down here. Shuttleworth to feed. Ball going with the feed. Chris Arkwright, solid tackle there. Phil Beavers in support. Lightfoot coming through. Number 5, Solari with the ball. I think that's the first time I've mentioned him in today's proceedings. McCurry acting half-back. Whitehaven taking it right. Cameron looking for a gap. Feeding on to number 11, Burney. Brought down right on the halfway line. Whitehaven still in possession. McFarlane coming away. A spirited little 10-yard run. Ball coming back onto McCurry. Andy Platt bundles into him there. The ball goes loose, but Saints just can't get it. Full back Lightfoot coming through. Feeds onto Shuttleworth. Whitehaven still in possession. going crossfield, Rouse, number 10. Finally bundled down. Well, plenty of interpassing there from Whitehaven, but they was getting nowhere. That's Ackerman again, I think. Last tackle now for Whitehaven. Taking it right to Shuttleworth. Little chip kick through. Phil Beavers well positioned. Brilliant play from this Beavers. Mark Elia takes the acting half-back position. Lofthouse third again. Bundles him down. So Saints again, settling it down, bringing it to the right. Tony Burke takes some stopping in full flight, this Burke. Brought down on the 25. Graham Liptrot again, on to John Fieldhouse. Saints driving forward, spreading the ball. Arkwright again, good support from Roy Haggerty. Brilliant play from Haggerty. Tormenting this defence down here. Feeds onto Barry Ledger, steps out of one, out of two. Finally brought down there by some aggressive tackling right in front of us. Lachlan acting half-back, Saints taking it left. Saints on Songy, looking hungry. Fieldhouse, short ball to Andy Platt, brilliant play there. Brought down by Ackerman. Platt just couldn't release that ball. Last tackle of this set of 6. On to Mark Elia, up and under from Mark Elia. Brett Clark also chasing the ball, taken by fullback Lightfoot. Held it well, but Brett Clark bundles him down. McCurry takes it right. Whitehaven on to number 12, Hetherington. 8 minutes gone of this second half so far, and Saints with a 17 points to 6 lead. Well, we're scrumming down here. Whitehaven infringement, and we're scrumming down halfway between the halfway and 25 line. Neil Holding there just taking a knock. Saints physio on there, giving him a little attention. Played well so far, looked very sharp. Neil Holding today, as haven't all the Saints. Well, Paul Farber here down at the dugouts, getting stripped off. Farber, number 14, substitute today for Saints. But as I say, we're scrumming down now. Neil Holding to feed the scrum. Ball coming out with the feed. Roll, brilliant reverse movement onto Arkwright, and he's steaming in. Yes! Well, to feed the scrum. Ball coming out with the feed. Roll, brilliant reverse movement onto Arkwright, and he's steaming in. Yes! Well, brilliant. That's fooled him from the base of the scrum. Neil Holding dummied with Chris Arkwright. He took him on. The Whitehaven defence was asleep, and he outpaced Winger Loftus to get to the left of the post for another try for Saints. Well, Arkwright's second try of this afternoon, and his 16th of the season. And Saints in a 21 points to 6 comfortable lead. Whitehaven definitely shot the bolt now, and Paul Loughlin lining up virtually from in front of the sticks. Have no problem with this conversion. Paul Loughlin lines up, strokes it in between the sticks. 23 points to 6 now. Saints comfortably in the lead. Paul Loughlin's 135th goal of the season. Cameron to restart. He'll be sick of this by the time the day's finished. Paul Loughlin takes it comfortably, drives towards the 25, was crossfield. Graham Liptrot taking the acting half-back position, quickly left to John Fieldhouse. Striding through Fieldhouse, had a good game today, releases the ball onto Graham Liptrot, I think. So McCormick acting half-back and Saints bringing it left. Tony Burke brilliantly onto Andy Platt. Feeds onto Chris Arkwright, but Burnley there just had hold of Arkwright, in my opinion, before he had the ball. And the Saints player down there injured, being called over rather quickly by referee Berry. Looks a serious injury. Andy Platt, I think. Yes, well, he's up rather quickly. Obviously not as serious as anticipated. But Andy Platt getting a knock there. So Saints to play the ball. Saints in possession. Graham Liptrot acting half-back, taking it back to Tony Burke. Builds up ahead of steam, feeds on to Brett Clark. Jinking through, can't get past Burney and McCurry. But Saints still in possession. Chris Arkwright now. Neil Holding missing out John Fieldhouse onto Roy Haggerty. He's been all over the park today, Haggerty. Out to Fieldhouse, inside to Holding. Just releasing that ball to Beavers. Overlap here, Chris Arkwright, Barry Ledger inside. Arkwright takes him on, brilliant play by this Saints captain. As I said before, leads by example, brilliant. Last settle now of this set of 6. Neil Holding, Grubbers, crossfield. A side-in kick from Holding and finds touch almost on the 25. Whitehaven making a substitution now. Number 14, Beckwith, coming on for number 3, Fisher. I think they've had a change of mind. I think they're going in for another number. But anyway, number 6 Cameron for Whitehaven, and perhaps that's they're going to be substituted. And Chris Arkwright, well, unfortunately asking for a stretcher for this standoff Cameron. Not a very pleasant sight on the rugby field, and one which we've not seen so far here at Nosey Road or any Saints game as I can recollect this season. So Cameron, this lively character for Whitehaven, unfortunately receiving an injury there. Being stopped there by referee Berry, and number 6 Cameron unfortunately receiving a rather sympathetic round of applause as he's stretchered off. As Whitehaven make their enforced substitution now. Number 14 Beckwith coming on for number 6 Cameron. So play resumes with the scrum down 10 yards just outside Whitehaven 25. Referee ordering the restart of the clock. The scrum being taken right over there to that Saints left-hand wing. And Shuttleworth to feed. Ball coming out, Saints side, Neil Holding, right, quick silver around the base of the scrum. Brought down 10 yards short of Whitehaven try line. Brilliant holding there again with Kevin McCormick in support. He's acting half-back, takes it to Liptrot, crossfield, Arkwright. Ball just going a bit loose, Phil Weaver scoops up, brilliant work there. Up to Mark Elliott. Can we have a Mark Elliott special? Going towards his right-hand wing, still going, brilliant Elliott. Feeds on to Loughlin, inside to Ledger, sidesteps inside. Tries a reverse pass, but it didn't come off, unfortunately. But Whitehaven pegged down on their own line. Loftus with the ball and brought down by John Fieldhouse with Graham Liptrot in attention. Alan McCurry takes it right on to number 10 Rouse. But Whitehaven losing 23 points to 6. Still in possession, pegged down in their own 25. Roy Haggerty there, fumbled him down. Now Chris Arkwright and John Fieldhouse take him down on the 25. McCurry again, change of direction, takes it to the right. But no way through. The last tackle now for Whitehaven in this set of 6. McCurry taking through to Burney. Grubbers for touch, but McCormick well positioned. Saints players haven't been well positioned today. But McCormick coming crossfield, but creating space. brought down here by Ackerman, right in front of us. Paul Loughlin acting half-back. Second it left, going on his own. He likes to go on his own, relieve a bit of pressure. Another Whitehaven man down there hurting the tackle as Graham Liptrot brings it right. Feeds onto Andy Platt. Mark Elia hurling through, but Andy Platt just couldn't release that ball. Graham Liptrot again. Second it left to Chris Arkwright. On to Tony Burke. Steams up. Takes the ball back to John Fieldhouse. The ball be kicked back to Neil Holding. Tries to pass out, but being pulled back. Obviously, 14 Beckwith tries to tackle him. The ball going out of his grasp. So Whitehaven here look as though they're going to be forced to make another substitution. One of the forwards down, number 10, Howes. But it's a scrum down just inside Saints half. And Shuttleworth to feed. Finally packed. That second row. But they make a massive twist movement there, as we can well see. Neil Holding quickly down on the ball to Roy Haggerty. Unfortunately, Roy Haggerty knocks on. And Whitehaven being penalised there. Well, they'd got a scrum, but he wasn't happy with that. Whitehaven being penalised for mouthing at that play the ball. Obviously something he said to the referee. And Andy Platt being substituted here. A great round of applause for this forward Platt. Had a sterling game today, been in the thick of things. Took some tremendous pressure. But Paul Farber coming on a substitute for him. Paul Farber's equal to the task. A real great Saints forward, this Farber. The Saints in possession. Tony Burke brought down on the 25. 17 minutes of the second half gone. Paul Farber now coming up with the dummy run. And John Fieldhouse in possession. Feeds inside to Neil Holding. Feeds up to Roy Haggerty. Still going on to Phil Beavers. Phil Beavers still driving towards that line. 5 yards short of Whitehaven line. Tremendous Saints pressure here. Brett Clark acting half-back. Second it left. Neil Holding. Lofted pass over to Mark Elia. Gathered that, but the number 5 Solari was in quickly. And Saints here, can they make it count? Kevin McCormack coming crossfield. Feeds on to Roy Haggerty. And again to Chris Arkwright. Quick hands on to Brett Clark. Jinking about Brett Clark. Oh, the line at his mercy. And a brilliant try there from Saints. McCormack coming crossfield. Feeds on to Roy Haggerty. And again to Chris Arkwright. Quick hands on to Brett Clark. Jinking about Brett Clark. Oh, the line at his mercy. And a brilliant try there from Saints. Brilliant Saints teamwork. Well, they can score at will, it looks like. 18 minutes gone. Brett Clark goes over for another try. Well, once Saints get into the full fling, there's no stopping them. Brett Clark going over there for his 15th try this season. A real asset to this St Helens club, this Brett Clark. And when we get to Wembley on May the 2nd, I'm sure Alex Murphy's going to bring this fella back. Saints making another substitution there. Pat Jarvis coming on for his final appearance, replacing Tony Burke. Obviously halfway through this second half now. Tactical ploy from Maestro Murphy, replacing two of his star forwards. Well, they're all star forwards, aren't they? But replacing two of his forwards to give them a breather. Obviously with hard matches coming up for Saints, with the impending cup run and unfortunately the backlog that comes with them. But Paul Loughlin slots it over right between the sticks. 136th goal of the season. Whitehaven making a substitution now. McCurry coming off and number 15 Simpson going on. Farber in possession, first touch of the ball. He'll take him on Farber. So Whitehaven, little aggressive tackling. Simpson comes on, but Saints in possession. Chris Arkwright, splendid ball onto Fieldhouse. Back to Chris Arkwright, siding through this Whitehaven defence. Certainly got the measure of them now. 29 points to 6 now with that Clark try and Loughlin conversion. And Saints coming down this right wing. Paul Loughlin, chip kicks through, taken by Lightfoot, full back. Taking it right, feeds onto Burney. John Fieldhouse in at the tackle, just can't stop him this time, but Paul Farber does, bundles him down. Well, Whitehaven adjudged to have knocked on there as he went down with the ball. Well, 29 points to 6, Saints in a comfortable lead. Halfway through this second half, and the scrumming down just inside Whitehaven half. Neil Holding foraging for that ball, but Saints being penalised for handing out in the scrum. The scrum more or less being lost by Whitehaven as won by Saints, but Whitehaven receiving a penalty and Ackerman to kick for touch. And finds touch 10 yards inside Saints half. Shuttleworth feeds onto Simpson, this substitute forward for Whitehaven, taken down by Pat Jarvis and John Fieldhouse. Whitehaven spreading it left, Fieldhouse and Jarvis in again. Not making much impression on this Saints attack, defence, I beg your pardon, but spreading the ball there onto Burney, inside to number 10 Howes, taken by Brett Clark and Paul Loughlin. McFarlane in possession for Whitehaven. Paul Farber and Roy Haggerty bundle him down. 15 yards from Saints try line, Whitehaven in possession. Hetherington onto number 7 Shuttleworth, taking it crossfield, the ball coming back by Burney, but Neil Holding, brilliant cover tackling there from Holding, bundles him down. It's the last tackle now for Whitehaven. Hetherington acting half-back, taking it left to McFarlane. He's going to have to kick it or something. It's the changeover. Well, he's got out of that tackle, tries to kick forward. Offside there, that Whitehaven man, but knock-on being ruled by referee Berry. McFarlane doing well there, evaded a couple of tackles, but tried to grub her through but couldn't, but Neil Holding feeds. Ball goes with the head, comes out from the base of the scrum. Saints in possession, pegged down on their own line. Well, referee getting somebody out for a warning here. It's Pat Jarvis on the bottom. It looks like number 8, is it? Rose. Well, he's being spoken to and duly being penalised. So relieving penalty kick for Saints. Paul Loughlin kicks for touch. Finds touch right on the 25. Graham Liptrop to restart. Pat Jarvis first man in. Gets up ahead of steam. Driving forward. Plenty of attention there. Rose in there. Obviously looking for a little bit of respite or whatever. Pat Jarvis just laughing at him. Paul Farber in possession. Steaming through. He's up to Neil Holding. Inside to Barry Ledger. Just unlucky Barry Ledger. Taken by full-back Lightfoot. But Saints on the attack. Roy Haggerty steaming up. Onto Pat Jarvis. Inside to John Fieldhouse. Looking to return the pass to Paul Loughlin, but taken down. Plays it to himself. John Fieldhouse. Left to Brett Clark. On to Chris Arkwright. Stepping out of the feeble Whitehaven tackling there. Chris Arkwright. But it's the last tackle now. Is it going to come back to Neil Holding for a drop? No, they're taking it left. Neil Holding. Grubbers crossfield through. Right through Lofthouse's legs. And goes dead. So it's a line drop out. So Saints to receive this ball there. Brilliant, quick thinking by Neil Holding. Grubbers through crossfield, hits Lofthouse, goes into an in-goal ball position, and the resulting line drop out. So Shuttleworth to drop out, taken by Paul Farber. builds up head of steam, heads towards this whitehaven line, shrugs one off Barber, still going. Brilliant work from this young Barber, utility forward, a real asset to this Saints team. And Saints spreading it right. Pat Jarvis coming up from deep, steaming forward, pushing him out of the way. Fieldhouse going on his own. Onto Paul Loughlin, jinking forward, still stood up in the tackle, Paul Loughlin. Well, John Fieldhouse, in my opinion, had a tremendous game here today at Nosey Road, but we just have to wait and see who gets the man of the match award. Roy Haggerty as well, waltzing through him, off one foot onto the other. Graham Liptrot now. Saints taking it left. Brett Clark onto Neil Holding. Short ball going back. Kevin McCormick does well to fall on that ball before it goes into touch, but it's the last tackle now. Saints bringing it left. Neil Holding again. Grubbers crossfield. Taken there by 15 Simpson for Whitehaven. Whitehaven in possession. Pegged down in their own 25. Saints just couldn't penetrate the Whitehaven line there, but it's Rose taken by Fieldhouse with Neil Holding round his ankles. Shuttleworth again. Whitehaven bringing it left. Onto Burney. Ball coming out here onto Solari. Going crossfield, but John Fieldhouse takes him down. Pat Jarvis finally completes the tackle. McFarlane acting half-back as Pat Jarvis strikes for the ball. The referee ruling that he did make contact with it, so Whitehaven back to one. McFarlane acting half-back and taking it right. Short ball from Shuttleworth onto Simpson. He tries to release the ball, finally does so to Shuttleworth again, and Whitehaven taking it over there to the right-hand wing. Still pegged down in their own 25. Saints in a comfortable 29 points to 6 lead. No coming back from Whitehaven from this points gap. And Whitehaven again bringing it left onto Simpson, fresh man, steaming through. Makes valuable 10-15 yards, but taken down by Paul Farber and Chris Arkwright. Saints being penalised there for offside at the play of the ball. Quickly played by Whitehaven there, but a brilliant tackle from Roy Haggerty, I think, bundles him down. So Whitehaven taking it left. McFarlane gives the dummy. Ball goes loose. But Whitehaven still in possession. It come off a Saints player, number 10 Howes, stood up in the tackle there, but just penetrating Saints 25 Whitehaven. Number 1 Lightfoot acting half-back, bringing it left onto number 3 Fisher, trying to jink through, but Farber in again. Done some tackling since he's come on, this Farber with Jarvis. Both Saints substitutes in Ackerman trying to duck down and duck through the tackling, but the Saints defence well up to it. Jarvis in again, and Whitehaven. Shuttleworth tries to rubber through, but the ball's dead. Well, that ball looked dead to me, but left. And Whitehaven. Shuttleworth tries to rubber through, but the ball's dead. Well, that ball looked dead to me, but Lofthouse touching down for a try. The referee right there. I'd like to see a replay of that. Very dubious try there. But Lofthouse touches down there, almost on the dead ball line, after 28 minutes of the second half. So 29 points to 10 at present. Saints in a commanding lead. Lofthouse to convert his own try, and he does so. So 29 points to 12 now. Roughly 10 minutes of this game remaining. Good solid team performance from Saints. Scored 17 points in the opening 20 minutes of this second half. With Whitehaven's sole reply there, just coming from Lofthouse with a try and a goal. Good deep kick from Neil Holding there. Taken by Cameron Lightfoot. Lightfoot, I beg your pardon, Cameron off the ground. Lightfoot, the full-back. Lofthouse acting half-back, and Whitehaven moving it left. Rose won't go down there with Roy Haggerty and Pat Jarvis in attention. On to Hetherington, trying to get through the Saints defence, just managing to get out of his own 25. Shuttleworth again, a lofted kick for touch. Ball going directly into touch. Linesman going up the touchline there. It looked right on the line to me from where we were stunned. So it's a scrum down midway between the halfway and 25 in Whitehaven half. Neil Olin to feed. Comes out with the feed, Neil Olin onto Mark Elia. Tremendous pace from Mark Elia there. Makes a valuable 10-15 yards. Being held down there in the scrum. Yes, referee Berry penalising Whitehaven for that. Quick play the ball from Saints. No, he's going to take the kick for touch. Gain a valuable 10-15 yards. So we're 10 yards from Whitehaven now. 6 tackles to make it count. Graham Liptrot. Jarvis coming up from deep. Heading for this Whitehaven line. Being brought down just 5 yards short. Saints on the attack again. Graham Liptrot spreading it left. Onto Chris Arkwright. Straightening up. Looking for the hold. Brilliant pass onto Fieldhouse. And he goes over in the front of the sticks. Brilliant work there by Saints. Saints on the attack again. Graham Liptrot spreading it left. Onto Chris Arkwright. Straightening up. Looking for the hold. Brilliant pass onto Fieldhouse. And he goes over in the front of the sticks. Brilliant work there by Saints. Saints on the rampage there. John Fieldhouse goes under right in front of the sticks. 31 minutes of the second half and another 4 points to Saints. Well, John Fieldhouse there, I think that's his first try with Saints. And an important one at that. John Fieldhouse going over there, right in front of the sticks. Making the conversion easy for Paul Loughlin. Spade work initially there by Chris Arkwright. Created holes in this Whitehaven defence today. Must be in the running for the man of the match today. But Paul Loughlin slots it over. .35 points to 12 now. Short kick off from Whitehaven there. Plan move, but it didn't pay off. Saints very alert to it. Brett Clark takes it, feeds onto Barry Ledger, tries to go midfield, but stopped by Lofthouse, who's taking this half-back position, I think. Jarvis feeds onto Liptrot. Long pass out to Paul Loughlin. Saints going to take it left. Onto Chris Arkwright, created the gap again. Arkwright onto Elia, lofted pass there, onto Holding, brilliantly taken inside. Whitehaven man just got his fingers to that lofted pass, but the linesman's on for something he's seen. Off the ball incident there, obviously. Linesman quickly on, Whitehaven man on the ground. Paul Farber being spoken to. The referee there. Finally bringing Paul Farber over, having a word with him. And a penalty to Whitehaven. The penalty to Saints. And I thought he was speaking to Farber there, but Chris Arkwright there picking up the Silkcut Man of the Match award, £75 and a limited edition jumper, and rightly so, as I say, he's carved holes in this defence, as John Fieldhouse. But Chris Arkwright, the Saints captain, leads by example. Saints on the attack now. Arkwright in possession, onto Brett Clark, over here to Mark Elia. Tremendous turn of pace, Elia. Feeds on to Barry Ledger, who comes back inside. No room on this wing. Shrugs 2 tackles off. Straightens up Barry Ledger. Feeds inside to Pat Jarvis. On to Paul Farber. Arkwright again there. Siding through them. Rose there, number 8 forward, going in rather aggressively. Inches short of the try line. Saints on the attack again. Plenty of time for more points from this Saints points machine. Into Mark Elia. Long pass out there, drumming everybody. On to Kevin McCormick. Phil Weaver's looping up with him on the left, but he just couldn't release the ball. So it's Saints with the last tackle of this set of 6. Neil Holding grubbering through, but being impeded there. That Whitehaven man never let her go of Neil Holding. In fact, he's only just released him. But Whitehaven being allowed to carry on, and Whitehaven in possession. Arkwright there, pegged down in their own 25, onto Lofthouse. 5 minutes of this game remaining, and still plenty of time for Saints to get more points on the board. Whitehaven receiving the penalty there from Saints allegedly holding him down in the tackle. Well, they wouldn't be accused of pulling his hair, would they? So they've got a penalty for holding down in the tackle. Ackerman to take the kick for touch, finding touch on the 25. Whitehaven now 35 points to 12 in arrears. In possession now and just penetrating out of their own 25. Shuttleworth acting half-back for Whitehaven, bringing it left. Short ball on there, but scooped up by Chris Arkwright. Quick ball onto Pat Jarvis, and Saints in possession, 25 yards from Whitehaven try line. Bringing it left now, Chris Arkwright. Phil Weaver scoops up, comes left, feeds onto Paul Loughlin. Taking it inside to Paul Farber. Steams up, ducks under one tackle. Roy Haggerty. Well, that touched the Whitehaven man. That's going to be 6 again. Taken by Neil Holding. Tries to outpace Burney, but feeds onto McCormick. Outpaces Loftus, coming crossfield. He should wipe those off. Yes, he has done. Right on the 25, so another 6 tackles for Saints to make it count. John Fieldhouse taking the acting half-back position. Saints moving it right. Graham Liptrot. Onto Roy Haggerty. Had a good performance today, Roy Haggerty. Unlucky there, just Mark Healy couldn't gather that ball, but onto Barry Ledger. Jinking forward, Saints on the attack. Well, penalty there to Saints, yes. The man was settled, he was waiting for him to play the ball, and they wouldn't release him. Quick play the ball from Phil Weavers, onto Chris Arkwright, crossfield, John Fieldhouse, onto Paul Farber, steaming through, still going this forward Farber. 5 yards from Whitehaven line now. Brett Clark, acting half-back, taking it right. Quick hands, Graham Liptrot. Chris Arkwright straightens up, going for the line. Yes! Right under the sticks. That's Arkwright's hat-trick. Brilliant work from Arkwright. Clark, acting half-back, taking it right. Quick hands, Graham Liptrot. Chris Arkwright straightens up, going for the line. Yes! Right under the sticks. That's Arkwright's hat-trick. Brilliant work from Arkwright. Joint leading try scorer now, Chris Arkwright with 17. Well, a fitting finale to Arkwright there, being named as man of the match, Silk Cup man of the match, Saints captain, tremendous leader, leads by example and going over there for another try right in front of the sticks. His hat-trick. So further nailing Whitehaven's coffin, 39 points to 12 at present. Just a formality for Paul Loughlin here. Yes, as I said, just a formality. So 41 points to 12 now. Loughlin slots his 138th goal of the season. Only a couple of minutes of this game remaining now. Brilliant team performance by Saints. Obviously, we expected Whitehaven to put up a show first half, but once Saints get into motion, there's no stopping them. Loftus kicks off, taken by Farber. builds up head of steam, drives forward. Loftus takes him right on the 25. Graham Liptrot, as ever, acting half-back. Saints taking it left, onto Pat Jarvis. Steaming forward, shoves one out of the way, onto Graham Liptrot. All on now. Roy Haggerty in position. Well, he's ruled a knock on, the man has. Obviously trying to keep the points down, as I've said before. Good work there from Saints. Lofted ball, number 11 for Whitehaven. Burney nearly gathered that ball, but flicked on from Saints' hands. Roy Haggerty flicking on, and the ball being adjudged to have gone forward. So it's a scrum down right on the 25. Shuttleworth to feed for Whitehaven. Coming out with the feed. Fullback Lightfoot coming up from deep, taken down by Chris Arkwright. Simpson acting half-back, taking it left to number 12. Hetherington looking for support, but Saints tattlers bundle him down. Pat Jarvis won't let him go. Burney now taking the acting half-back position and bringing it left onto Shuttleworth, grubbing him through. Taken by Phil Beavers. Well positioned today, Saints, for this little kick through by Whitehaven, which has been very unsuccessful, apart from that disputed try over there which Loftus scored from Grubber kick through. Graham Liptrot coming blindside. Roy Haggerty taking him on, driving through down this wing, being finally bundled into touch just short of the 25. Tremendous forward this Haggerty, powerhouse Haggerty, but unfortunately he just couldn't break the Whitehaven defence there. 41 points to 12. Saints in a real commanding lead and all on full time now. Shuttleworth to feed. Eventually ball goes in, foot up, in Saints. So penalty kick to Whitehaven. It's the last chance to get any further points on the board, I'm sure. But Shuttleworth, quick tap, feeds onto McFarlane. Graham Liptrot and Barry Ledger bring him down. McFarlane going for the line, held up over the line and pushed back into the field of play. So McFarlane, Shuttleworth acting half-back for Whitehaven. Trying to go through himself, no way through. Saints defence well up to it there. Tremendous Saints tackling. Tries to go through again. Bill Beavers there, tries to gather the ball. Solari in possession. The referee judging Saints touched it, so back to one tackle now. A further 6 tackles for Whitehaven. Quick hands onto Burney, trying to release that ball. Dumped down right in front of the post, Saints post, but Whitehaven still in possession. Knock on. Had to play the ball there. Well, it'll be the last scrum of the match this now. Brilliant performance today for Saints. 41 points to 12. Massacre of Whitehaven. So we're in the bag Tuesday morning for the semi-final. Neil Holding. Ball comes out Saints side. Referee not happy with it. And Neil Holding being accused of feeding. So another penalty to Whitehaven. Quickly taken by McFarlane. Driving toward the Saints line. Burney in support. Feeds on to Burney. Brought down by Arkwright and Paul Forber. There's the final hooter. And the game's ended. Brilliant performance by Saints today. 7 tries, 3 from Arkwright, Loughlin, Holding, Clark and Fieldhouse. 6 Loughlin goals and a Neil Holding drop goal. So Saints go into the semi-final for the first time since 1981 when they played Hull KR. A great performance today from Saints, and I'm sure today's match day mascot Neil Taylor, who I'm very pleased at being chosen as the match day mascot, and very pleased with Saints' performance today.